At Pinterest, we're on a mission to bring everyone the inspiration to create a life they love. Our team works every day to build a more positive and inspired internet for users around the globe. I'm Kim Tran Young, Head of Technical Recruiting, and today our engineering and recruiting teams are going to share what makes Pinterest engineering different so that you can come to Pinterest and create a life in an engineering career that you love.
Hi there, my name is Pedro Silva and I lead the Inclusive AI team here at Pinterest. We really believe that inspiration starts with inclusion. And this is a big part of the features we put on our product, but it's also a really big part of how we build teams in the workplace here at Pinterest. Whether be it by building recommendation systems that are more fair, or building features like the hair pattern search, body type technology, or skin tone ranges, you'll be a part of a team that aims to have a positive impact on the internet and impacts millions of lives across the globe.
Hi, my name is Lin, and I lead the ads ranking team here in Pinterest. Our ads ML models leverage architectures like Transformer, DHEN, Deep Cross Network, and powerful embeddings like Pinner Sage and Graph Sage to achieve accurate prediction of users' on-site and off-site engagement with ads. We achieve this by being part of Pinterest's strong ML community. Collaboration across different ML teams in Pinterest foster innovation, fast adoption, and efficient translation from research and ideas to our production models that can bring the best value to our users and our advertisers. We also encourage publication and blog posts that broadcast our learnings to the whole industry.
We have some of the best machine learning infrastructure in the industry and some of the most advanced machine learning techniques. At Pinterest, everyone has a big scope and creates high impact within our product and across the company, all while bringing positivity and inspiration to Pinterest users around the globe. That's what sets us apart from larger companies doing this type of ML.
We create impact while living and working where we're most inspired. With Pinflex, we know some work can be done anywhere. Whether that's at home, in office, or another virtual location, our team is globally dispersed and we do our best work from different places and countries.
We still gather for key moments to collaborate and connect, but Pinterest gives all the employees the autonomy to live and work with flexibility to serve themselves, their family, and our pinners. We're building a more positive place aligned. Come build with us.
Welcome everyone to Pinterest's 5th annual ML Day conference. It's my pleasure to welcome you and kick off this amazing event. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Chuck Rosenberg, and I've been working here at Pinterest for almost 7 years. I'm a VP of engineering and lead our applied research team. Before we begin, I want to give you some context for this event. Our goal is to bring together ML talent across the industry and share with all of you some of the cutting edge ML technologies we're developing and deploying here at Pinterest. What makes this event so special and unique is that you'll hear directly from the ML researchers, engineers, and leadership at Pinterest, the people who are actually working on these projects. As you can see, we have a packed agenda with lots of interesting talk. So to get us going, I'll give you a quick run through. We'll start with our keynote presentation, which comes next. Then we'll follow with our senior leadership panel discussion, then a series of lightning talks. Then we'll follow up with a technical panel discussion. The senior leadership discussion will focus on exploring the pivotal ML applications currently transforming our platform. The lightning talks will introduce a variety of work from across the company, and the technical panel will be a deep dive into the machine learning strategies that are shaping the future of our recommendations, content discovery, and foundation models as they dive into the next big bets for Pinterest machine learning. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Deepak Agarwal. He's our Chief AI Officer and VP of Core Engineering here at Pinterest. If you use Pinterest, you're using the work of him and his team. And most importantly, he's my boss. Deepak leads the teams responsible for developing all organic user experiences on the platform, including recommendations, search, and shopping. Prior to Pinterest, Deepak was a VP of engineering and the head of AI at LinkedIn from 2012 to 2020. Before that, he was a researcher at AT&T Labs and Yahoo Research. Deepak has published extensively in top-tier conferences and journals in CS and ML and statistics, and he's written a book on recommender systems. He's a fellow of the American Statistical Association, served as a member of the executive committee for SIG-KDD, was a program co-chair for SIG-KDD and dub, and regularly serves on program committees of major conferences. Before we dive into the keynote, one thing I wanted to mention is that we'll take questions after the talk. Please enter any questions you may have into the chat function. And now I'd like to hand the stage over to Deepak. Deepak, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you all. Thanks a lot for joining. So I'm going to give you an overview of how we do AI at Pinterest. And even before I begin, want to mention we have a long tradition of building products at Pinterest in an AI first way. AI is something that is ingrained in our culture. So I'm very honored and privileged to be talking to you about how we do AI at Pinterest. There will be a lot of other talks that would be follow-ups. So I encourage you all to go to that talk as well. But let's begin. Before we begin, of course, let me remind you of the mission of Pinterest. It is to bring everyone the inspiration to create a life they love, right? And we are the world's most important, foremost lifestyle app. And again, I use it every day. I hope all of you also use it every day. If not, I hope after this talk, you will go and create a Pinterest account and start using it. So we have more than 500 million monthly active uniques getting inspiration every single day. Again, this is very important, and I want to describe this a little bit more in detail because this is what really provides very interesting challenges for us as machine learning and AI practitioners. So the goal of Pinterest, unlike many other platforms, is to help our users, who we refer to as spinners, move from inspiration to action. So in some sense, this is a full funnel journey optimization problem. For instance, just to give this example, let's say you want to go to a party maybe next month. You start coming to the news feed and you start getting ideas. As you start getting these ideas, you start curating these ideas by saving them. Once you have narrowed down an idea, then you really want to decide what you want to do. Like, for instance, if you're planning for what you want to wear, what style should you be using, what kind of outfit, what is trending, whether it's casual or not. That's the decide phase. And finally, once you have done all of that, you don't need to go elsewhere. You can actually buy the dress on Pinterest itself through our amazing merchants, and you're done, right? So this is how we move pinners from inspiration to action. And in real life, obviously, I described the user journey previously in a very simple way, but the user journeys could be very non-linear. There could be multi-session. If you look at someone like me, my journeys are not that complicated. Although, when I'm looking at home decor, my journeys also get very complicated. But journeys are very personal, right? Different people have different tastes. They actually create these journeys in very different ways. And it's all personal. Someone might have a journey that lasts for multiple sessions or even months. Like if you are planning to remodel your house, that journey can continue for 2 years. If you're planning for a party, that can end in a few days. If you are planning for a weekend meal, that could be a few hours. So very different kinds of user journeys, very heterogeneous. And this is what makes the machine learning challenge more interesting, right? The goal is not to really optimize for just a point recommendation. It is all about how you optimize the user journey end to end. It is all about figuring out where the user is, where the pinner is in the journey, and meeting the pinners where they are. So in some sense, you can think of it as a very interesting reinforcement kind of learning problem. But as we all know, at the scale that we are operating, making these things work in an industrial setting is a very big challenge. And that's what we do every single day at Pinterest through our AI technology. Okay, so another interesting thing is, as the users are walking through their journey, they keep giving us very explicit signals, if you will, right? Like you're searching for something that is an expression of explicit intent. If you are curating, like if I liked an idea and I go and create a board and I name that board and I save it, that's again a very highly explicit signal. You might end up planning for what you want to wear at the party with your friends. Again, that's a very explicit signal. And finally, when you are done and you are ready to buy that dress, you are clicking through and buying that. Again, that's shopping intent is also a very explicit signal. So that is what powers the signal to noise ratio that we get from a pinner is extremely high compared to other platforms. That is what really helps us build complex, sophisticated machine learning model that adds a lot of value to our pinners. And that virtuous cycle is that what keeps our machine learning getting better and better over time. Right? So, and I don't have to tell this audience how AI works, just to remind you, there are three important ingredients for any AI system to work. You need high quality data, high quality and highly scalable data. And then, of course, you need sophisticated algorithms that can learn patterns from the data. And these algorithms have to be guided by the objectives that you want it to accomplish. And then as you start building these AI algorithms, the feedback loop that it generates gives you better data, and the algorithms keep learning, and the whole thing starts working and gets improved over time. And as I was telling you, our AI models are not just because we have amazing models, which we do, but it really leverages the truly unique data we have based on search, based on the curation, the saves, and we have very high volume, right? Like we have more like 8 billion search queries that we get every month. We have 1.5 billion saves that happen every week, right? That's massive. That's massive. That's like curation of content on steroids, if you will, right? Nowhere on the planet would you find something like this. We are very fortunate to have those signals. And these signals are what feeds into our AI system and makes the AI system as good as they are today. Okay, so then what are the objectives that we want to optimize when we are actually building our AI system? So obviously, positivity, inspiration, and actionability. These are the cornerstones, these are the key pillars of what the platform is. And our AI systems always optimize for these three pillars. And as I was mentioning, we do not believe in myopic optimization, we believe in pinner journey optimization across the board, right? And that is inbuilt into our AI system. We want to make sure that the platform is inclusive, there's diversity, we have lateral exploration, and finally, we believe ads are as good as organic content. So if you're looking for that red dress that I was showing you, that it doesn't matter whether that red dress is coming as an organic content or it's coming from an advertiser. As long as you get amazing content that are ads, you'll still help the pinners accomplish what they want to accomplish. At the same time, it also provides the advertiser ROI. So this is almost like our secret sauce. Ads are as good content and as relevant content to our users as organic content. And what makes it happen is the AI system that we have built. We do not believe in putting ad load in a blunt way. We believe in intelligent flexing of ad load based on relevance and based on user intent. And finally, of course, as we are building the platform and the experiences, safety and quality of the experience is always the most important thing, the foundation on which all of these things work. One other thing that I want to really emphasize, which is something that we really specialize in, I would say, being a visual search platform, we just do not optimize the backend algorithm itself. We optimize the entire end-to-end stack, starting from the UI all the way to the backend, because the UI experiences that we create is really very essential to provide the feedback loop to the AI algorithms that we build. And so, given the visual platform we spend a lot of effort coming up with amazing UI experiences that is both delightful to the user, but at the same time helps us get intent signals from the users itself, right? And so that's a very unique feature of how we believe we build AI algorithms, in addition to all the other things that I talked about. Okay, so this is the objective. Now I want to go one click down, and again, hopefully this picture is kind of familiar to all of you, but I thought I'll provide you the whole end-to-end flow that is powering the entire Pinterest app. So obviously we begin with the content, and we have both organic and ads content, and we have a lot of content, like more than 500 billion product pins, inspiration pins, videos. We have like 1 billion ads on our inventory. all these ads are obviously curated, make sure they're trustworthy. There's a sophisticated content moderation system we have built. We filter out content that are not consistent with our brand. And then in addition, we have a system that figures out the quality of the content, even though they might be safe, but the quality of the content matters, right? We do not want to just show salacious content to users, for instance, just to encourage clickbait, because positivity, as I said, inspiration and action, these are the key pillars on how we optimize systems. So we spend a lot of effort understanding the quality of the content from various aspects. And if the quality is not consistent with what we believe the platform should be, we end up filtering that content, downranking that content. And then after all of that, the next layer, of course, is ranking the content using relevance and engagement and actionability as our objectives. On the ad side, there is an additional objective, as you can imagine, which is the ROI that we provide to our advertiser as well, right? So in addition to the relevance and actionability and engagement aspect, we also incorporate the ROI that the advertisers would get when their content gets shown to the user. And then finally, all of the ad content and the organic content, they get blended through the whole page optimization layer that I was talking about. This is the layer where we flex ad load intelligently. For instance, if a user is looking for a wedding dress or a party dress, and we have dresses that are ads but are very relevant to the user, the ad load might go very high. But if a user is looking for something and we do not have ads for those, then we would not force ads on the users. We would just use the organic content that are relevant for the user. So there is a lot of variation in terms of the ad load, depending on the intent and depending on the context. And at the end of the day, although the average ad load might be a certain number, but there's a lot of variation. And the variation is a good thing, because the variation is dictated by personalization, it's dictated by the context, it's dictated by relevance, it's dictated by the stage of where the user is in their journey. And once all of that is put together, then we have our delightful UI interfaces that I talked about. And in the UI itself, we also do a lot of innovation using our computer vision technology. I'm going to talk about some of those experiences later in the talk. And that is what creates the feedback loop, which again feeds into the entire stack. And then you again keep updating the models over time. And that's how the user experience gets better and better over time. So one key thing I want to emphasize here is this entire end-to-end stack I talked about. Every component of the stack is driven by AI. There is nothing here that is not driven by. It's entirely driven by AI. And that's what I meant by AI first culture, AI first product thinking. Like we have AI across our entire stack that I just talked about, that's powering the entire Pinner experience on the site. Okay, so, well, that was all great, but, is it impactful? And again, yes, it is amazing. I mean, we had an earnings call today, so even in our earnings call, you can hear and you can look at our earnings call from the last few quarters. But AI is driving disproportionate impact to our business, whether it is engagement in terms of monthly active uniques, deepening the engagement we have in sessions, the number of sessions, the shoppability, actionability on the site, driving disproportionate ROI for that. All these things are disproportionately impacted by the AI innovations that we continuously do on the site. In addition, AI is helping us to keep the platform safe and trustworthy. We have also used AI in very creative ways to ensure that our platform is inclusive, and I'm going to talk about some of the work later on in the talk as well. In addition, of course, AI's story is not complete nowadays without talking about generative AI. We have embraced generative AI. In fact, we were one of the earliest players to embrace generative AI like 2 years ago. We use generative AIs in multiple different ways. For instance, we use generative AI to enhance developer productivity, sales productivity. We use generative AI to power amazing Pinner experience we are going to talk about later, advertiser experience, and of course, we use generative AI across our backend systems as well, which I'm going to allude to later on as well. So, and the footprint of AI, right? So that was the impact of AI, but now let's talk about the footprint of AI. Massive footprint, hundreds of petabytes of training data, more than 160,000 machine learning training jobs running every week, more than 200 models deployed every week. And these are models that are running new experiments, innovation. So you can see the speed of innovation, more than 300 machine learning engineers. Now it has actually gone up even more since the last time we created the slide deck. We are running models that are very large, more than 100 million parameters. Some of them have few billion parameters. And in the last 2 years, we have seen a huge transformation in the models that we run. Like our models have grown more than 100x in the last 2 years. One other statistics I want to give you, which is very interesting, is a large portion of our AI cost is inference. So this is very interesting because what this means is we are using AI in a very significant way to drive the bottom line for the business. Generally, if you see that the cost of AI is not disproportionately on the inference side, it means you're trying a lot of things and experiment may not be making it into production. But in our case, the cost we incur in AI, a large proportion of that is in the inference. And there's a reason, very good reason for that, because most of the AI innovations that we do immediately see the light of the day and they're running in production, making the pinner's life more delightful and also providing the advertisers much better ROI as well. Okay, so this is all great, but now I'm going to give you some idea of how we scale AI at Pinterest, right? So such high-speed innovation is not possible or economical unless you have a mechanism to scale AI. And there are three things that you need to really scale AI. You need to scale the platform and infrastructure. You need to scale how you build algorithms and models. And finally, you need to set up the teams in a way so that it can be also scalable in terms of innovation, speed at the company, right? So I'm going to talk about all three today. I may not touch a lot on the team side of things today, but the focus today would be mostly on the first two. I mean, I can talk about the teams aspect in the Q&A if you have some thoughts or some questions, but let's focus more on the first two because we may not have time to go into the team aspect of how we scale AI at Pinterest. Okay, so the first thing is, of course, infrastructure and AI platform. And this is like the key foundation of modern AI, right? Modern AI does not work by writing math formula. In the old days, if you wrote down graphical models or decision tree or GPT, you could still get away with it without having a very sophisticated AI platform at scale. But gone are those days. Like this is not even possible in the modern day AI era, in the deep learning era. So we spend a lot of time building a very advanced and sophisticated AI platform. And without going into all the details, I want to highlight there are three important components of our AI platform that helps us industrialize AI at Pinterest at scale. One is, of course, the data foundry. Let's call it, for lack of better term, the AI data foundry. Feature store, the data set store, ensuring that we can create high quality training data over and over again every single day in a robust way and still maintain the quality and robustness. Like this is extremely important because if this thing does not work, then all the models will fail, right? And if they fail, then obviously your AI would run sometimes, but it might actually fail spectacularly some other time, causing more harm to the business than benefit. So it's very important to build this data foundry in a way that the whole system is robust and the models are running the models are running and producing high quality output every single day. Then, of course, we are training very sophisticated large models. So how do you ensure that we have a training environment, the compute environment, model management environment that can facilitate that? And we have built something which we call MLWen. This is a model development environment that makes it very easy for our developers to train and innovate on models. And again, this has been one of the most important thing for us in terms of improving developer velocity when it comes to machine learning innovation. And finally, there is no point in building sophisticated models and training them if you cannot serve them. And so online inference with very large model becomes a very important problem. And there we have been leaders, I would say, in this space. 2 years ago, we actually moved from CPU serving to GPU serving, and that unlocked so much more potential for us to run these large, complex, sophisticated models in production at runtime by using GPU, right? So these are the three important pillars, if you will, for our AI platform that has helped us scale AI at Pinterest. Just to give you an example, when we moved from CPU to GPU serving, we were able to immediately serve 10x larger models. And the way we actually rolled out our GPU serving, we optimized the kernel, we optimized the data flow, and all of that stuff. The incremental cost of moving from CPU to GPU was not that large. It was like 5% or 6% large. So pretty much a very marginal increase in cost. But boy, I mean, the impact of this was significant. And not only was it significant in one particular area, it was significant everywhere. Look at the home feed, the search, close up, ad engagement, everything benefited from this unlock that we did a few years ago. And the engagement and the improvements were all in double digits, right? And it continues to this day, right? The 10x have now become 100x, and we are still innovating. We have still not reached the ceiling. There's so much more potential that we can unlock through this infrastructure capability that we rolled out a few years ago. So that was just one example. There are so many other examples. We can have a 4-hour talk on just talking about what we have done in scaling our AI infrastructure. Okay, the next thing, of course, is model, right? So before I talk about the model itself, let me just go through the way we think about foundational model at Pinterest. So of course, the first thing is we start from our content, and just like any other player in the market, any other people doing AI, we build embeddings, foundational embeddings on both the images and text. That kind of gives us a very comprehensive understanding of the content itself. But then once we have done that, we actually enhance these embeddings by using the engagement data that we get on our site. Like, for instance, if I know there are 5 pins that all got pinned to a wedding board, or if there is a pin that got saved by one pinner to a wedding board, another user might have saved it for a party idea. This graph, engagement graph that we get, for lack of better, I'm going to call it a graph, is then used to enhance the embedding that we get from the content itself. And then finally, once we have already done these foundational embedding, every single application that we have at Pinterest takes this embedding and further refines it for its own objective. Like, so the home feed can take this embedding that we have created and massage it, fine-tune it for its own application. The ads fine-tuning is different because the objective might be to increase conversions, not necessarily save. So every team then takes these foundational embeddings and then fine-tunes it for its own application. And this model has worked really beautifully for us because we spend a lot of time doing the XSage kind of embedding, and then every Surface team can take these XSage. They don't have to worry about recreating these foundational embedding and then incorporating that and fine-tuning it for their own applications. Okay, so there are some examples of this. Like, we have what we call Pixie. So think of a pin to board graph, and you can do random walks on this graph, and through the random walks, you can figure out association among content that you would otherwise not know, right? So if I just give you a set of images from the internet, you don't know which image is associated with what. But because of the curation that the pinners did on these images on Pinterest platform, we can actually now figure out beautiful association, sometimes even unexpected association of different content types through the pinner sage graph. Pin sage, again, I talked about that. This is all about taking every content piece, creating a computer vision embedding and text embedding, and then using all the engagement data that we have to even further refine that embedding. And then finally, once you understand content, we look at the user interaction data and even build an embedding to understand the user behavior as well, right? So pinner former and transact, these are two of our pinner embeddings that capture the user behavior across the site. Pinner former is something that captures users' long-term behavior. Transact is a system that takes your most recent activity, and then that recent sequence of data is used by local applications like home feed and ads to do a local embedding based on their objective. So you have both the long-term and the short-term all working together across our ecosystem, right? We are now moving to a world where we are very further enhancing our content embedding by using multimodal learning, Again, this is something that is already going on a lot in the industry, so we are kind of investing in that. OmniSage is again another example where we are investing in the next generation of search embedding. So this work on embedding that I'm talking about, the foundational, it continues to get better and better over time, right? And the key message here is we do this once, and then it is used by all the other teams to drive various applications on Pinterest. Okay, so now what about Gen AI? So let me spend some time talking about Gen AI. So our Gen AI philosophy, there are two key components of our strategy as far as scaling Gen AI is concerned. One is federation. So we have built a system where it is very easy for us to incorporate any foundation model into our ecosystem in a safe, compliant, and secure way. So that is what I mean by federation. Centralization is necessary so that we can facilitate the federation I just talked about, right? If you don't have a central platform where we can ensure that such computation can happen in a safe, secure, and compliant way, if you don't have tooling that makes it very easy for others to use these models and the output of this model and prompt engineering and so on and so forth, it's not going to be a scalable process for us to kind of ensure that Gen AI is used consistently across the platform. So that's why centralization along with federation going side by side is an important way to scale Gen AI at the company. And again, you can look at this matrix, you can see like we know in areas like visual where we are much stronger, where we have a lot of data, we have built our own foundation model. Like Pinterest Canvas is a multimodal visual foundation model that we have built using our own data, and it's very accurate for the use cases that we have. But in other cases like LLM based on text, we take other models that are out there through vendors, through open source, and we fine tune it for various application. There are new generative models that are going to be coming soon. It's in experimentation. We are very excited about this. Is what we're calling the generative Rexis model. So instead of taking tokens of words, what if you take tokens of user sequence and build a generative model for that on the site, right? And then use it for various applications. So this is something that we're experimenting with, and it's going to be coming very soon. And again, as I said, Gen AI is used for three most important use cases. We use Gen AI very heavily to improve internal productivity. We use it to create various backend signals. In particular, we have really found Gen AI to help us democratize labeling, reduce the cost of labeling, reduce the opportunity cost, because by using Gen AI, you don't have to take so much time to collect label data. We can actually collect label data much quicker by using GPT labeler. So this has also made life much easier, especially in application like search and trust and safety, where human annotated data is very important. We have used Gen AI to extract various product attributes and then use it in our recommendation system, summarization, aggregation. So there's a lot of places where we use. And finally, we have also been using Gen AI to power experiences on the user side. Recently, we launched our product called Performance Plus, and as part of Performance Plus, we provide an ability to our advertisers to take a product shot and create background images based on Gen AI. These background images are all based on what we see on the platform. In some cases, it's even personalized, for instance. Like if you like home decor in farm style, you might get a farm style background. Some others might get a contemporary style, and so on and so forth. We have built experiences like guided search, personalized, and there's a lot more work happening in this area that will be coming out in 2025. Right. So Gen AI, the story of Gen AI is not complete until we talk about how we can roll it out in a safe way. And so at Pinterest, we just don't worry about safety and responsible AI. Of course, those are table stakes. You cannot have Gen AI go out to the site without being safe and responsible. But we take it a step further, right? We believe in building AI experiences that also have empathy. I mean, as I was talking about, one of the things that we really take pride on is building AI that is human-centric. And so our Gen AI application, we want our Gen AI to also have empathy. We want our Gen AI to be producing UI experiences and output that feels kind and have empathy. We don't want to describe things in a way that's going to be hurtful to others. We want to make sure our AI is inclusive, right? So that's why we call our Gen AI layer empathetic AI, to mean that it is both safe, responsible, and has empathy towards our users. And this is something that is a centralized process used by teams across Pinterest when we are rolling out any Gen AI experience in the product. Okay, so this is some example of how Gen AI is enabling. So this is the first example is through guided search, right? So think of guided search as something as a product experience that anticipates, as soon as you type this query boho bedroom, it anticipates what else could be going on, and it kind of guides you through that journey rather than you thinking about every single step to figure out what you do, right? So most of the queries on Pinterest are broad queries, doesn't have a definitive answer. And so this is an example of how Gen AI combined with all our other AI innovation that we've done helps the user move through this journey end to end from inspiration to action. Dynamic creative optimization, as I told you, is something that we have rolled out for our advertisers recently, and the first few results are phenomenal, and we are continuing to invest more in this area. We have even seen Gen AI improve sales productivity in a significant way. So instead of thinking and spending hours to put a pitch deck together, Gen AI can help a salesperson put a pitch deck together in a much faster way, and also it can help them put together a pitch deck that is much better. So this is an example of where Gen AI is actually working as a co-pilot, helping the salesperson do their job much better than what they were doing before, right? And so there are many other applications, but these are some examples of how we are building Gen AI and using it to power both user-facing applications, advertiser application, internal productivity as well. And finally, not every cool thing in AI is Gen AI. Like, we have also built something which we call inclusive AI. And this is, again, based on our foundational computer vision technology that we talked about. So making sure that we have mechanisms for users to filter results based on different skin tones, hair pattern, body type is something that we launched very recently, 1 year ago. And again, we are leaders in this space. We are the first ones to come out with these things. Of course, a lot of these things are being mimicked elsewhere, but we have always been the first one, because we believe this is a quintessential feature of what Pinterest is as a platform: being inclusive, being positive, being inspirational. That all begins with having experiences where everyone can feel that they belong to the platform, right? So this is yet another example of using traditional computer vision AI to build amazing user experiences. And this is, again, not simple. You have to build neural network. You have to collect data. If you just use, for instance, if you're using skin tone filters, and if you just use training data based on human pictures, that doesn't work very well. So you have to do a lot of innovation to collect the right training data. We have to work with external experts who can help us understand these things much better. And then, of course, you have to train these models using deep neural network, and then you have to create a feedback loop and continuously innovate on these things over time to get it right, both end to end from a user experience perspective. And the results are amazing. I mean, this is not just about being inclusive. So this is so encouraging. Like, if you do the right thing for the users reward you with more engagement. So the more we do it, the more engagement we get on the platform, which is really amazing, right? So that's exactly what we want to see when we are actually building these experiences, right? So I'm going to skip this slide. This is, again, showing how important, how impactful this inclusive AI experience that I talked about was on the platform. So anyway, I think this is so I think just to end, I just want to make sure that you all have the key takeaways. So first of all, this is something that I want to emphasize more than anything else. Our approach to AI is to tune the AI for positivity, inspiration, and action, right? And we are building experiences that are deeply personalized and human-centric. We do not believe in building AI experiences that are robotic. We believe in building AI experiences that are human-centric, that have empathy with the user, because that's the only way we can actually build a experience that feels that resonates with the pinners in very personal ways, right? Pinterest at heart is an application where you come because of yourself, right? Like, you're not on a social media where you're networking. You come to Pinterest to be yourself, to express yourself in wholesome ways. And having AI applications, having an AI technology that's human-centric is important. Not only important, it is the first thing that you need to do when you're building AI on a platform like Pinterest. And again, the second thing is AI at Pinterest leverages unique intent basing. So much explicit signal on our platform. provides a very high signal to noise ratio, and that's what makes our AI models so good. So our AI models are not very big. I mean, obviously they're big, but relatively speaking, they're not as big as some of the other models you probably hear about every single day. But given the data that we have, even with smaller model, we can get a lot done for our pinners and for our advertisers. And again, this exercise is not just pedagogical. This is the most important technology that we have on our platform. This is what drives the business. This is what drives the user experience. This is what drives the AI. This is what drives the advertiser experience. This is what drives shoppability and monetization for Pinterest. And although we have been doing Gen AI for a couple of years now, but we have seen it unlock so much more. I think we are just scratching the surface when it comes to Gen AI. There is so much more that we are excited and innovating in this area, and you're going to see those experiences coming out next year and the year after that, and so on and so forth. In particular, we are using a lot of Gen AI to innovate on visual search experiences, and some of these experiences will show up in the app in 2025 and 2026. So with that, I'd like to end. I think I'm a little bit over time, but not a lot, and hopefully we'll have some time for questions. So thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, Deepak, for the amazing talk. It really helped pull together everything, between the technology and the product and how we're using it. So yeah, we'll have a few minutes for questions from the audience. I can read them out to you, Deepak, and then if you have any questions, please enter them into the chat function, and then we'll go ahead with it. I think the first question that came through was okay. This is the one we'll ask first. Yeah, you can see it too. Is Pinterest leveraging LLM agents for SWE work, such as writing unit tests, doing framework migrations, etc.?
Yeah, that's a great question. So before I answer that question, I also want to talk about another aspect of our AI strategy. Again, I alluded to that a little bit, but we do not believe in building everything in-house. So we believe in partnering in places where where that's not our core strength or application. Like as I said, like when it comes to visual, we are building our own foundation model. But when it comes to LLMs, we are leveraging open source. So the application you just talked about, unit test, migration, GitHub Copilot, this is something that we partner with other vendors and use it. So we are using it. We are driving productivity using these tools, but that's not something that we build in-house, right? And so yes, so the answer is yes, we do it, but we do it through partnering with other vendors.
Makes sense. Okay, we can maybe wait for the next one to pop up. So, okay. Here we go. What is the goal for long-term, like year-long behavior prediction?
Yeah, so look, I think Pinterest is a lifestyle app. And again, we know as users, when you're in a lifestyle application like Pinterest, you have your user journey or user interest is guided both by a long-term interest as well as short-term interest. So the long-term, it's important to capture both. Like for instance, the long-term user sequence would help us capture your style, your taste in home decor, in fashion. But maybe right now you're in the midst of remodeling your kitchen. So that's where the short term comes in, right? And so it's a combination. So even when I'm recommending you kitchen remodeling ideas, I want to know from your long-term user history that you like contemporary or farm style. So that's why the combination of these two things is what we have found to be very powerful. And again, the results speak for themselves. We have tested this out using various combinations, using various window length and all, and we found that using both of them together is what gives you the best performance and best user experience.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the next question, I'll wait for it to pop up. Yeah, what metrics does Pinterest use to assess the success of its model?
Yeah, again, that is a very interesting and complex question. I mean, as AI practitioners, we all know, you're building models to do different things. Like when there are some models you build and you look at the quality of those models, maybe by looking at precision recall. But then Once you assess that, it goes into production, and maybe you're using that model to downrank content. And then there is another model running, which is like a foundation model. Foundation model, again, is trained by using multitask learning. And again, you can test it in ads and home feed, and those local applications have their own metrics. So I think depending on the context, we have different metrics for different models that assesses the quality of those models. But at the end of the day, we test it out in production and look at how it's driving both engagement and advertising revenue. That's really the test of how good a model is. But obviously, you cannot test everything in that way, because then you're going to end up incurring a huge experimental cost. So every model has its own local quality metric, which is like a guardrail. And once it passes that threshold, then we test it in production and see how it's driving pinner delight and advertiser ROI. That's really how we operate at Pinterest. We do not build a foundation model just for the sake of building it and putting it in open source. We are not a cloud company, so that's not our business. Our business is always to delight pinners and delight advertisers.
Definitely. Okay, this one I think is asking about what you meant by user sequences. Were you referring to the knowledge graph and to get to the user journey?
Yeah, so user sequences, think of all the actions that users have taken over time in a longitudinal way, right? That's what a user sequence is, right? So what did you do on Pinterest? When I look back at your engagement history the last 1 month, what did you do? Okay, well, you started out by looking at party ideas, then you purchased this dress, then you went on Friday and you start looking for recipes that you cook during the weekend. And then you started looking at kitchen remodeling, and then you went. I'm actually telling you about my own history, so that's where it's coming from, right? So this is the whole user sequence. This is all the things that I do on Pinterest. Now, based on all of that, the deep learning model learns about my DNA or my user or my behavioral characteristic, right? So that's what we mean by user sequence. And as you can imagine, learning the user sequence means you also have to understand content, right? So first you have to create an embedding for the content itself, and then you have to create an embedding that can embed the sequence of behavior that the user has. And then once you have that DNA, you start using it in different downstream applications like home feed, search, advertising, that is powering personalized experience for you across the entire site based on the context you are in.
It's amazing the AI models really can kind of extract out that knowledge.
Yes.
That's the magic that they're doing.
Right.
Maybe for time, we might have, maybe this is the last question. What were the obstacles that you faced while initially deploying inclusive Gen AI features like skin color, hair type, and have you faced any setbacks?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to clarify the inclusive features I talked about was not based on Gen AI. It was based on compute pure, the good old computer vision. I will not say good old, I would say good old with Pinterest magic, right? So the whole idea of taking the computer vision embeddings and then using the engagement data to enhance these embeddings, that's what is powering that Gen AI, inclusive AI feature. Look, I think we had to do a lot of iterations to get this right. Like, we will build these, then we will put it out there, we will test it, we will do user studies, we will consult with fashion experts, for instance. How do we even describe things in a way that makes sense when we are rolling out body type, or what are the things that we should be thinking about when we are talking about skin tone? So it's a complex process. It's a very multidisciplinary area. It's not just building a model and rolling it out and it works. Like, you have to work with experts in the field to roll it out. So each of these deployments took a bunch of iteration. It took us like 6 or 7 months to build each of these features. And but when we roll it out, it really is magic and it really stands out. And the pinners love it, right? Like, and so that's why we continue to invest even more in this area. And we have many other things on the roadmap for next year, which you're going to start seeing coming on the site.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's been so well received by pinners, and like you said, just being really cautious, right, and thoughtful about it. I think that's key. It's not ML, AI is that's not the end of the story, right? To be successful.
Yeah, I think that human-centric experience is what we take pride in, right? Like, so we don't want to just build AI and start making the interaction of the site look more robotic. The empathy that the human beings should feel with the AI is very important for us, and we keep that in mind with every experience that we build.
Okay. I think unfortunately our time is up. Thanks again, Deepak, for the amazing talk, the great talk, and thanks everyone in the audience for the insightful questions. Really appreciate it. So in terms of what we're doing next, we'll have a short, probably a little less than 10-minute break now, maybe like 8-minute break, and that will be followed by our senior leadership panel discussion. So don't go anywhere. There's still lots of great content and lots of great talks to come. And we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Just bring my car back, man. I called in for another point. I think you're going to be back here on time anyway. Look, I just want to get out the house, man. This man on one. You feeling good? Shit, I'm trying to get my thing. Run over the house. Just bring my car back.